Heather, thank you so much. That was beautiful. The band was pretty good too. Thank you. It's interesting. One of the songs we sang was "We Are a Real Thing," and I said an energy of harmony, and we are. And we can extend that. And then "The Color of the Wind." You know, that's a song that came about because of immigration. John Smith immigrated to the United States. He didn't start the United States. He immigrated here and came here and met Pocahontas. And Elton John wrote that song in commemoration of their meeting together. About 75 years ago, in World War II, in the Solomon Islands, there was a PT boat that was sunk by the enemy. And 11 people were on that boat, and 10 of them made it to shore. And the lieutenant who was in charge of the boat took a strobe light and went out and found the 11th crew member and brought him to shore in shark-infested waters. And then he went back out into those shark-infested waters, and he waved the strobe light and hoping that a warship, which they thought was on the way, would see it and rescue him. And so, as we talk about this issue of immigration today, I kind of feel like that maybe I am wading into shark-infested water, okay? But not here, I know that. It is a big issue. It is, for me, an interesting issue. I have spent a couple of weeks reading, and I'm thank God for the internet to save so much time. You know, 20 years ago I had to order the books in and underline them and all that kind of stuff. Now I just go to the internet and download them or read them or whatever I need, and it's really cool, and so I'm thankful for that. As I looked at this whole issue, or not the whole issue, or big parts of the issues of immigration. And there are really two major issues regarding immigration that we'll talk about this morning anyway. Number one is what do we do with illegal immigrants? And number two is how do we manage our immigration process that allows people access to living legally in the United States? And so, like JFK with a strobe light, let's focus on these two issues. And the first one being illegal immigrant status. And what possible opportunities could resolve our challenges as a nation, and it is a challenge, and as a community, and as a spirit-led and enlightened individual, so that when we cast light on illegal immigration, what we're really doing is helping people hopefully come out of the shadow of fear and step into the light that our Constitution, I think, and our people share with one another. There are a couple of solutions, about three, that I've read about, kind of interest. Most of us heard about the first one quite a bit recently, and that's that what we do is we take 12 million people, of which about 5 million are children, we get them to pack their bags, and we force them to go back from where they came from. Probably, maybe somebody here agrees with that, but I don't. I got to say, that's just a stand I take. Because of the fact that, number one, most of the people who come illegal here came here with a green card or a visa card. The great majority. They didn't come across the border at night. And some did. And if we can't manage the green cards and the visas and not know when they go out of date and are not renewed, how are we going to manage taking 12 million people and moving them back to wherever they came from? Especially since the majority of them have been here for more than 10 years and have children who are legal U.S. citizens. And as a mother or a father, I can't imagine how we can endorse that kind of thinking. But that is one of the solutions. And that's about as much time as I'm going to spend on it. Second is the idea of amnesty and a process for allowing those who are law-abiding, not felons, to remain and find a pathway to citizenship. A pathway to citizenship. This is a quote: "Hard-working, tax-paying immigrants who are living in this country should be given every opportunity to come forward, maybe pay a fine, and earn legal status and a path toward citizenship. Successful reform mandates the most expansive earned legislation provisions that would make eligible the largest number of undocumented persons. The benefits of an expansive legalization program are clear. Employer compliance with withholding requirements is best achieved by the highest level of participation in the legalization programs. People will come out of the shadows and be able to work at higher paying and more secure jobs, and families will be reunited, and more people receive a better education." Now, the man who said that was George Bush in 2006. And what I have found as I've read about these ideas, it's not so much a political issue from party to party, it's each individual within the party who takes a stand. And they are very varied and different. That's one of the stands. Let's legalize people and let's make them citizens. And I personally think that's a great idea. I think it makes sense. And there's some reasons for that that are not just out of the heart. There are economic reasons for that. Did you know that illegal immigrants pay $13 billion in taxes a year in this country? That's the illegal ones. Okay? They pay about $3 billion to $4 billion into Medicare and Medicaid. If we ship them home, wherever that is, that's income actually lost. Because some of it is true, but there is a myth that everybody who comes here doesn't pay their fair share. That they just come here to get hospital benefits, to have a child, or to take advantage of the welfare system. But let me tell you, there's not one illegal immigrant in the welfare system because they're not allowed to be. But people think they are. So people have a fear that we're going to lose something if we provide citizenship to illegal immigrants. The third is amnesty without citizenship, to make them legal immigrants so they can stay here with their families and not live in the fear of being shipped out. And that is a real fear in certain parts of the country. And I imagine there are some people that live here in Richmond, Virginia, that also have that fear. Right across the bridge. I'm not an illegal immigrant. Oh, okay. Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay. Anyway, yes, there are. And so what we really need to do, I think, is to pray for light. And when I say light, I mean solutions that are fair and equitable, that support people who genuinely want to stay in this country, who genuinely want to be either Americans or a part of this country, and that we do not allow those who are felons to stay here. And if they are, they're probably already in jail or out of jail. I don't support that idea because we don't know exactly where they are, but I also don't think that somebody who's committed a misdemeanor should be excluded. Those are two different worlds. So we could have some possible rules on that. But more importantly is that we open our hearts to illegal immigrants. 4th of July, we had a party in our neighborhood, and we had 2 Somalian families who came to the party. And we had an interpreter at the party. That was really cool. Somebody who spoke fluent Arabic or Farsi and also could communicate with them. These were 2 families that spent 8 years in Jordan, okay, in a compound, in a camp for refugees. 8 years. These are individuals who are intelligent, who are well educated, who were able to get into the United States recently. And they love the honor of being here. By the way, 3 of them work. One wife does not. She has 4 children. The children are fantastic. What they are is they're human beings that share all the thoughts and the ideals and the desires that you and I share. And that's what we found we had in common. Yaya is a 13-year-old, and he comes around the neighborhood on a pretty regular basis, especially in the summertime. And one day I was out, and I may have told you this story, but I'm going to tell it again. One day I was out in the yard, and he offered to mow my lawn, finish it up. And I guess I had it 2/3 done. And I said, no, that's okay. I about got it done. It's good for me to exercise. He goes, I really want to help. And I said, okay, here's the lawnmower. Go at it. And so when he finished, he knocked on the door, and he said, I've finished. And I offered him $10 because I think it was about 15 minutes of work, 20 minutes of work. And he wouldn't take it. He said, I am so thankful to be here. I just want to serve you. Isn't that cool? And I've seen Yaya pretty regularly. And now when we see each other, we're able to give each other a hug. And he's Muslim. I'm Unity. No disrespect, that means I'm half Christian and half something else. But he knows, and his family knows, that those in our neighborhood who celebrated their coming here and welcome into the community love them. They felt that, and they shared that with us as they left that day. That's how we have to treat everybody, whether they're illegal or legal immigrants, either one. And so the second issue is this whole issue of people who are legal immigrants and officially are allowed in our country and are allowed, in many cases, a path to citizenship, if that's what they want. Sometimes they just want to get an education and go back home. But whatever they want to do. There is a quote by Dr. Stephen Camarada, who is with the Center for Immigration Studies. He's the director of research there. He said, because every part of our immigration system has been exploited by terrorists, we cannot reform in just one area, but must address the problems that exist throughout. The solution is not to single out Middle Easterners for exclusion or selective enforcement. Instead, we need to more carefully check the backgrounds of all visa applicants. All visa applicants. And better police the borders, strictly enforce the law within and the country, and most importantly, reduce the level of immigration to give government agencies the breathing space necessary to implement fundamental reforms. There were about 650,000 people who came into the United States over the past year. Sometimes it runs as many as 1 million a year, who are vetted, checked out, and are able to get a visa or a green card. And they're the ones who stay many times, as I said earlier. I think he made a lot of sense here. There's one thing I would just like to speak to, because I called some of my friends in El Paso in the last couple of weeks, and I said, what do you think of the idea of building a border wall? And out of the 5 or 6, not one of them thought it was a good idea. And they said because it doesn't keep people out. We just think it is. It's one person called it a wall of fear, which was kind of interesting. Now, these are Unity folks, obviously, okay? New Thought folks. A wall of fear. And what we saw when I was in El Paso, we do have border fences all along the borders of El Paso and Juarez. And what would happen is every year, 10 or 15 individuals trying to get into the United States would be drowned, because what they do is they go up into the tunnels of the drainage systems and come through. And if they get caught in a flood, a flash flood, then they lose their lives. But they're willing to take that chance. And you know, as in Brahmin tradition, you cannot build a wall high enough that you do not know God. Every wall, every mountain, people can cross over. Now, I'm not saying I don't think we need border control, our borders controlled. I'm simply saying I'm not sure that's a good one. And that's just Richard's opinion. That is not a unity stand, by the way, okay? Richard Bunch's opinion only. And I just want to make that clear. And so what we need to do, though, I think, is figure out a way in which, number one, those who are illegal immigrants can come out into the light and feel free, not live in fear. Number two, I think we do need to look at our immigration process, and I know it might be pretty good right now. I just don't know. I'm not at that level. As they say, that's not my pay grade. But I do believe that there are ways in which we can vet people, and right now it takes about 18 months to a year to vet somebody. And in that process, we can protect ourselves from those people we do not want in this country. I, in my heart, want everybody to be welcomed. But I do live in a world, and I want each of us to be protected at the same time. Not out of fear, out of good common sense. Because we don't have to fear anything. We don't take action out of fear. We take action out of love. We don't take action out of fear. We take action out of faith. We don't take action out of fear. Instead, we find ways to resolve differences rather than retaliate to differences. And so as we step in that, I see a day when we will be following Jesus' teaching. For example, to make this kind of more personal, Jesus said, "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink?" And he said, "I tell you the truth, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did it for me." I think he was speaking from that Christed understanding, out of love for all people. And so we kind of ask ourselves that question. Are we doing enough in that area? Do we need to do more as a congregation, as a community, in the world? And if I can play a role in that, how do I play a role in it? How do I figure out how to do that? Because it's a big, big challenge. Also, most of us, and how many have visited or seen the Statue of Liberty in here? Raise your hand. There you go. Just about everybody. The only people I ever met that didn't see the Statue of Liberty were salespeople I had in New Jersey. I swear. Some of them never been to New York. So big treat was to go over to New York and then go over to the Statue of Liberty. So I've seen it a number of times. But you know the most inspiring words. "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuge of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." So like JFK and PT 109 in the story, although they were shipwrecked, they were able to survive. Our immigration system, to me, feels like we are shipwrecked at times. But we will survive this. We will figure out a way to do this right. I am convinced of that. I believe it. Because I believe that love always, always has more power than fear. And a footnote regarding that JFK story. It wasn't a warship that saved them. There were two guys who were in the Solomon Islands who were foreign immigrants, if you would, for that area, and were scouts. And they were Aaron and Beuku Gaza, who stopped to help them, who saved them. What would the Bureau be like today if that had not happened? I'm not sure it would be quite as good as it is today. because of that. And so, the ideas and thoughts that helped structure this message came from a lot of people off the internet, as I said earlier. The Unitarian and Universalists have done some great work, and there are many messages online that I'd say you ought to look at about immigration. There are lots of sermons by Baptist ministers on immigration. And most of it follows what I've been talking today. There are a few people who wrote messages that I would not agree with, because from my thought, they look like they were writing out of fear rather than love. There are a lot of people who are working on this issue. Today it has been drowned from the standpoint of illegal immigrants because of what's happening with the immigration process. I also read the ban and the Supreme Court's ruling on the ban on immigration. I would ask you not to be against the ban because of the individual who wrote it, but research it yourself. I personally think that the Supreme Court made a good ruling in saying it can go into place, but there are changes that must be made. So it protects people with visas and green cards. It protects people who want to be students. It protects people who come here to visit relatives. And at the same time, it says that we have a right to protect our shores. But I go back and say again, the right is to vet all individuals coming into the United States. And we probably should have vetted some of you, but anyway. And if I start doing that, you're going to vet me again, and I got problems. Okay, but anyway, just know that this is shark-infested territory. It really is. It is so big and so massive. But if you have an opportunity to talk to your congressman, to your senator, if you have an opportunity to talk to somebody who can or doesn't want to doesn't even make a difference, but they have an opinion, talk with them about it. But most importantly, be unity in the way you treat each and every person who's in this country, legally or illegally. They deserve that because they are children of God. And we behold the Christ, the divine in each of them. And when we do that, we just love them. God bless you. Now, if I usher